at the end of the day, it shows cash flow to achieve those goals. And when you get out to 2025, 2026, and then obviously in 2027, it's a cumulative effect of additional funds that would be needed to maintain that objective through those last 3 years.
If we don't borrow above this level that's planned.
Right.
If we borrow exactly at
Exactly.
this level
Exactly.
planned, at the interest rates exactly as I forecast, and there's no other changes.
Right. So then we would, if you add Oakland, it'll change, and you'll show us that.
Yeah. So,
So
now what's not in this schedule is any presumption of additional bond premiums that the village would receive in the 2018, 2020, 2022 debt issues, which again, by definition, must be added to debt service offsets. What's not in this schedule is any potential additional general fund reserves that may accumulate over the next 10 years. So my personal opinion is that this is a reasonably achievable and sustainable
You're going too
objective.
fast, I still don't have this down. So let's stand line 19 now, and you get out to 2025. Explain what happens when you got a negative $305,000 there.
That indicates the amount of additional funds that would have to be applied to this effort to maintain the 5% stabilization in 2025.
So we had not used any of the $1.2 million until we get up there?
No, you used it all.
Yeah, right.
Right. Line 19 is residual balances.
Can I say
Okay.
it a different way? So I have asked the question to clarify based on this, and then you can say it a different way. So that $304,000 would have to come from someplace else other than general fund reserves at that point, unless there were premiums and fund reserves.
Well, to kind of answer Guy's question before I answer yours, that $304,000, again, is with the existing identified sources of funds that we have in hand. Now, I anticipate that we are likely to get additional bond premium over that period of time. But I'm not going to speculate on what those might be.
So it wouldn't necessarily mean you have to lose 3 police officers to come up with this, to stabilize the debt service payment.
That's not how I would characterize it. no.
Right, okay.
If you-
It says nothing of your operating budget. Those are all current recurring expenses. You cover them with recurring revenues, and that's the way your current budget for 2018 will be prepared also.
But we will need revenue to cover the debt service, and Mark is saying we may find it some other places, but if we don't, we still have to pay our
Well,
debt service through your
If
operating.
we don't, at that point, if there are no residual,
Right.
additional residual general fund reserves accumulated over the next 10 years, if there are no premiums on bonds, at that point, we would have to raise taxes to cover full debt
Or
service.
make cuts, so you could go into your operating budget, or you could raise. My concern, can I just ask you something? My concern is that the amount, and bond proceeds is like 80,000, 50 to 80,000. The amount it keeps going up. So the amount that we're gonna need to, after this period, say 2027, to keep subsidizing our stabilization fund, we run out unless we find additional funding, which we'll find a little bit, but it looks like it's continuing to go up. It's 300,000 that we need to find in 2025. This is based on projects that I feel are kind of incomplete. I think we're going to be adding more bonding here in the out years. Okay, so but just under this scenario, best case scenario here, it goes up. It goes to 556, then we have to find 606.
I can explain the message of why that happens.
Sure.
Look, the red, those bad red numbers.
So line 11 is the funding required to stabilize debt. So in the earlier years of this schedule, for the sake of discussion of this schedule, we are subsidizing relatively large numbers to stabilize that increase. Now, our debt service needs begin to taper off, and again, in line 5, in 2026, 2027, and again, my schedule goes out a little further than that. The actual increase in debt service is actually a decrease in debt service needs. But we're still playing catch up on that 5% to when rates were going up 7% and 8%. So that's why it does continue to build the amount of funds needed on line 11 all the way through 2027 when we finally get caught up. And again, in line 19 then, the difference between the funds that are being proposed of existing money to what is being contemplated as projected schedules are clearly indicated there. And that we will see what happens with funding sources and how that impacts a number of different ways to impact that number.
So do you think, rephrasing it, last question here, if 606,000, you feel confident that we will have enough bringing in more general fund reserves over this time period and bond proceeds to cover that 606?
I do.
He said it's reasonable.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, at the same time, each year when we do our financial plan, what we add year by year in terms of what project needs would be expected at that time.
Well, this project schedule is continuously updated based
Exactly.
on what
So
we
we'll add a
see.
year.
But though, when we do that, if we start adding in tens of millions of dollars of projects, that 606 number is going to change.
Mhm.
And if that were to happen, then maybe the discussion, maybe the discussion turns to using a different metric, stabilizing for 7 years, and then when TID 4 closes, there's all sorts of hypothetical things we could do down the road.
But not that we would add projects within this 10-year frame, but we would say in 2020, at that point, we would know in 2030 what roads we would be doing, repaving or something like that. It's not like we're going to go to 2017 with no sense of what's going to happen in 2028, 2029, 2030. We would be,
Correct.
it's a rolling,
Every year,
Plan
you're
of
adding
process.
a year.
right.
It is rolling, and there's a lot of stuff here. We didn't get to go through the projects, but if you look at the second page, there is money in there for the southeast shore
Right.
improvements, okay? There's quite a bit of money factored into the plan, using revenue bonds to pay for those storm sewer extensions to feed the new relief sewer, the MMSD relief sewer. So that is accounted for in the plan. And the only thing I see here that looks a little light is the street resurfacing. We dropped off to 500,000 the last 2 years of the plan. I don't think that's realistic. It's unfortunate we dropped to the 1.5, so we can't do this whole list. So some of these are going to be carried over into that final element. But other than that, most of the major identified needs are in there. You may also have something on the Lake Drive project when that comes up. That'll be 22, 23, somewhere in there. I don't know that the state's going to cover 100%.
Where are you getting those numbers from there?
Some of the Lake Drive
The
project.
one that's scheduled for 2026 in the plan?
Do you get that? Which one is it? Oh, Lake Drive. We've got the, I see you've got it scheduled twice. The resurfacing scheduled for 18 and reconstruction in 2026. So that is included. Again, hopefully we'll get more, state support, so the village doesn't have to come up with all of that, but it does need to be accounted for.
Just want to go one step further now. You got the $1.2 million that you're starting with. How does that $1.2 million, what do you see how that's depreciating every year to get down to zero? What do I look for?
It's the difference between funds available, new money coming in.
Which lines?
Funds available on lines 14 through 17.
Wait now.
Total.
14 through 17.
total with a running balance on line 18, year over year. Those are total funds available.
So what is the balance over 30% in 2018? How do you
We're
calculate
not
that?
going in 2018 yet.
Well, according to your schedule,
Well,
somehow you're doing
we're
it.
gonna have,
Yeah, it's the
we're
running.
gonna have 2017.
I'm trying to understand
Okay,
the numbers here.
First of all, the 1.2 million leaves us at about like 31%, based on 2016 ending balance. We don't know what our 2017 ending balance is.
Right, I understand that, but still somehow you're depreciating that 1.2 million.
It's 18 minus 19,
Well,
and that's how
let
you
me-
get the money.
18 minus 19,
Yep,
and then you do the cumulative.
And that's how much you need each
So if
year.
you do 18 minus 19 through 2024,
Yep. You'll come up with 1.2
and
million.
you should come up with 1.2 million?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, Take,
That-
take the starting
He said
number
no, but-
in 17, the 1.2 million. And then the numbers below that in the column you add to it. Okay, and that gives you your running balance available, which the first year is 1.3. And the current available
On line
resources,
18.
18 and 19 are exactly the same. Okay, now for 2018, if you look up on line 10, you see you need stabilization support of 190,835. Okay, so that gets subtracted out of the 1314. Then you come back down the column and you add in 82,000, 40,000, and 115,000. And if you subtract and add those numbers, it gives you the 155.
So, let me
And
just
there's
illustrate this.
90,000 short.
So if we start with this,
Yes,
this comes in 17 as well.
right,
We end up with this.
right,
You need this.
right.
So that's like a minus.
Mhm.
Then you're adding this in, and now you end up with this amount left out of all of this. And this will run down against line 11.
Okay, so
Line
it's
18.
not 18 minus 19.
Well, ultimately,
18 minus
1.2 is
11
part of a
is
bigger
19.
pool of money
Yeah,
that
minus
is
10.
utilized
18
over this
minus
time
11.
frame until you run out of all these monies here. Because that's where you go from
Minus
88 to
10.
a minus 1.
So it's
You on an annualized basis.
Myself now.
It's this minus this plus these guys
Gives you this number.
gives you this number. So the next year, it's this minus this
Plus those guys gives you
plus
that
those
number.
guys gives you that. Okay.
Now, the math is really this number minus 11, this number minus 11.
Well, which number? 19 minus 11?
18 minus 11 gives you 19. Because I'm doing running balances of needs versus wants, and it just,
Because I was, I'm trying to figure out with the math here, then I'd like to see a line for what's happening with 1.2 million, that's all.
it's incorporated in this number.
Right, but you can pull it out and take a look at it, right?
If you want to assume that the 1.2 million is used first, is that what you want to presume? Then that money will be used up by the time you reach here. Because you go from 1.88 to 1.088.
It's in there.
But from a broader perspective, it's all
Okay,
one stream.
and this gets to the point that you're making
Yes.
too, we're running out of the freaking money.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Without even
we
pushing
have a
roll
fund
costs.
balance every year. Every year we contribute to fund balance, so, and he doesn't have that in there. I
Yes.
have a question. The sewer advance repayments, line 16 and 17. Okay, we could use those for operating expenses if we want. You're proposing for them here, but they don't have to go here. We could use them to pay health insurance increase or anything else in the operating budget.
The board could use general fund reserves to support
No, not general fund
operating
reserves.
revenues.
No, the repayments from sewer and
But they go
water.
right to, it's a balance sheet item. It's not a revenue, it's a balance sheet item. There's a loan out there. So this is kind of like the business loans and the CDA. When that money comes in, it comes into the amount just right into the bottom line.
Can you use it for operating expenses?
So
Well, that would be using one-time revenues for,
Oh, because
ongoing
because the
operating.
original fund that we borrowed it from was from reserves. Is that correct?
The original fund that you made the loan
Yeah.
on was general fund reserve.
That's why you're saying that you shouldn't then use that money when it gets paid back, it should be used for whatever general fund reserves.
Now, I hope, and again, it's been a while since we had this discussion, but I hope it's not understated here that one of the reasons that we propose this use of general fund reserves instead of other uses is because when we use it to offset debt service, it's a deduction against our expenditure restraint limits. When we use it for anything else, it counts as an expenditure of general fund monies against expenditure restraint.
Unless you use the method that Fox Point did, but, you know.
Well, yeah, I